Nestled in the Scottish Highlands, Glencoe is a place of natural, breathtaking beauty that has captured the imagination of artists and photographers for years. This stunning location is renowned for its rugged mountains, rolling hills and serene lochs, which together form a landscape of striking contrasts and rich textures. We went up recently to photograph in Glencoe, but this time we decided to shoot multiple exposure. Did it work? Let's find out. And that's what happened a couple of weeks ago. We went up to Glencoe just to do a day's shooting in multiple exposure. Now, what I did for that day, I put my camera in JPEG and I shot in the X-T5. I put the camera in JPEG format so that I had to be as precise as you possibly can be with the technique. We went up to enjoy it as well. It was a great day out, but it was more the technique that I was after, just to see if it actually worked with the landscapes. Because for me, it works very successfully with the linear aspects of the buildings, and I wanted to see how it would work with the more organic feel of the landscape. A couple of people had asked me what technique it was in the terms of what kind of movements I used and what was my focus for everything. So what I did was, as I'm a writer for F-stoppers, I wrote an article for F-stoppers, which you can see on the screen just now. I'll also put a link down below to that article. And in that, I show the technique, or I talk about the technique that I personally use, that I like for that. And it's more of a movement technique. It's not the actual technique of how they're applied and laid together. So hopefully you find that useful. And as I say, I'll put a link below to that. Some images from the day were successful, others were not just quite as successful. So what I'm going to do with the video is I'm going to break it up, and I'm going to put the unsuccessful images at the beginning just to get them by with. And then when I began to realise what it was I wanted from it, there's a couple of images in there, and then I'll end the video with the images that I felt were successful from that day. Most of these images didn't work, and that's why I thought I would show them first. The reason for it basically just looks like shaky camera movement. It doesn't even resemble ICM in any way at all, and the fact that you can make out as much detail or as much of the structure and form of what I'm photographing kind of put me off the idea of doing that. But sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. So I decided to incorporate some structural elements into it from what I was doing before with the buildings. From the beginning, we started underneath the Boer Hill, and there's the hut that sits along the side of the river, and I thought I would add that structure in just to see what it brought out in the images themselves. And as you can see, I focused on it quite a bit just to try different techniques, and that's basically what I was doing when I was up there. I was just trying different techniques to see what would work and what wouldn't work, and from various different angles, just so that I can include the structure within it. Ultimately, nothing worked, or there was nothing that I was actually happy with. I even tried the road to see if bringing in the man-made objects would give it an appealing look. For me anyway, this is probably the best one with most of the structure there. Again, I had to shoot into the glen itself, and that one worked, but again, I wasn't happy with the final effect. Moving on, I decided to zoom in and capture some details, and only took a few shots like this, but I now knew that bringing the objects in closer and filling the frame more was more of something that I was actually seeking. So now you've seen where I am with that. And as I say, that was just for that day. We have been practicing ever since, but that was just for that day. And the next series of images that you're going to see are the more successful images from that day. And it was just incorporating what I learned throughout to get the type of images that I'm after. Now, I'm not going to say any of these are any good whatsoever, but I've began, because of the practice, just in that one day, to realise what it is I like and what it is I don't like about multiple exposure landscapes. There won't be a video next week, and that is simply because we are heading to Skye for a few days. We're hoping to do the Needle this time, if we time allowing, but we're going up mainly to do Sigurnes, which is one of the places with such stunning scenery. It's not that high a hill, but we've watched it in many different videos, and it's just from the scenery up there, looking at the Coolins, and it looks absolutely stunning. So I'm going to do a video from there as well. So that'll be coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy this series of images coming up. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.